All right, guys, I am back with a brand new video. And today's video is going to be my top 10 films of the year 2023. Now, my list of 10 films here, I'm going to start from number 10 and work my way all the way up to number 1. And I think some people are going to be surprised by this list. And as I go through this, I want you to know that this list of 10 does not necessarily reflect my actual review on these films. I looked at these movies, all the movies that got released this year and everything that I saw, and I ranked them in the order that if I was going to sit down and watch a movie, would I want to watch this again? So this is irregardless of the star rating that I gave it in my actual reviews. And so that is important to note because some of these may surprise some people. But the first film, number 10 on my list, is SpiderMan Across the Spider-Verse. This movie was just pure fun to watch. I had never watched the first film, and right before going to see this, a lot of people asked me to do a review on it. I decided to watch the first film, which was wonderful. When saw the second Spider-Man, Spider-Verse film, really loved it. And it had kind of an interesting ending, and I was excited to find out that the second part for that story would be coming out in 2024, but the studio has delayed it indefinitely. And so we don't know when the second part or the third film to that series is actually going to get released. So that is my number 10 film of the year. Number 9 is Oppenheimer, the new Christopher Nolan film that just got released this year. This film left an impact. It was visually stunning. It was engaging. There were a few things I thought were unnecessary in the film. But outside of that, this film was wonderful. It was engaging and really keeps your attention from beginning to end. I have yet to purchase this, but it is on my list to purchase. I think it's the only one. There's a couple that I haven't actually physically purchased yet, and this is one of those that I really do want to add to my collection. Number 8 on this list is a brand new film that just got released on streaming last week, which is Zack Snyder's brand new film, Rebel Moon. Now, there's a lot of controversy associated with this film. I absolutely love it. I have seen it 4 times, and every time I watch it, I get more enjoyment out of it. Just watched it last night with my good friend out here where I live, and his wife and my wife had not seen it yet, and they both enjoyed it. My wife, for her to say she liked the movie is a big deal, and she really liked the movie as well. I could watch this and never get bored with it. I am very much looking forward to part 2 coming out in April, and I am looking forward to the extended version of both films, ultimately, that will come out sometime in the summer of 2024. Number 7 on my list is going to be Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I was personally really worried about this movie when it got released in theaters. Disney has been mucking up films for a long time, and my biggest fear was that they were going to emasculate Indiana Jones, ruin this character forever, and they did not, as a matter of fact. And all I wanted, personally, was to go into the film. This is my favorite film franchise of all time, and I wanted to see another good Indiana Jones chapter that could be added to my collection, and it was just another adventure. And it was. It was actually a very good film. This is another one that every time I see it, it grows on me, and I really enjoy that movie a lot. I actually have it sitting here in my studio with me, and I actually have I did get a couple of the steelbooks from Best Buy. That leads us to number 6 on this list, which is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Now, this movie actually bombed at the box office. I'm not quite sure why, because we had the star, he was just in Top Gun Maverick last year, which did phenomenally well, and then he goes into doing this, and it bombs, which I don't understand. And I think it has to do with people knew it was going to come out on streaming shortly. It's it's one part of a 2-part story, and I think most people will go back to the theater to see part 2, which was supposed to come out next year, but again, I think this movie has been delayed for an entire year, which is kind of upsetting because I wanted to see the conclusion to it. Which does lead us to number 5, which is an interesting film, The Equalizer 3. Now, I really like the Equalizer franchise, and here's a little interesting tidbit about the Equalizer series in general. Denzel Washington has never done sequels before. This is the only franchise he has ever done a sequel to. And the third film was thoroughly enjoyable. The first film to me is something special. I really enjoyed the first one a lot. It's one of those movies that I could watch a bazillion times and never get bored with it. The second film I thought was somewhat forgettable. It was still enjoyable. But the third one was very much in line with the first one. I really like this one a lot. I already own it in my collection. Number 4, now these last 4 films, well, the last 4, one of them was released a while ago, but the 3 of these last 4 were films that just got released recently, which is surprising. Number 4 on my list is a movie called The Killer, starring Michael Fassbender, which was streaming exclusively on Netflix. I did a review on this film, and this movie left an impact on me, specifically because of the sound design of the film. It was something on a totally different level. I really enjoyed The Killer a lot. It's a movie I will revisit, and hopefully it gets a disc release, which I don't think it will, but I actually have the ability to make my own discs, and I will be adding this actually to my collection with box art and everything sometime here in the near future. Number 3 on my list is a movie that surprised even myself, because this is not a franchise that I'm a huge fan of. I think the American version, I find it to be okay, but we got a Japanese version of it, and it is Godzilla -1, which is a Japanese release. It got released here in America and is now the number 1 grossing film of all time, coming from the East. And this film really made an impact on me too. I really enjoyed it. It's something I will definitely revisit again. I like the music. I like the characters. It was a really well thought out movie, and I really enjoyed it. And I was not excited to see it, but again, a lot of people on my channel asked me to go watch it, so I did, and I found it to be thoroughly enjoying. So that leads me to number 2 on my list, which is a recent release as well, Wonka by Warner Brothers. And this goes to show you that I can look past what studio or person made a movie to really get some enjoyment out of it. Wonka was not something, again, that I was super excited to see. I do like the original Willy Wonka film, and I didn't know where this was going to fall in the whole history of Wonka. I did know going into it that it was going to go back to when he was younger, and this is actually a very good sequel to the original Willy Wonka film, and I really enjoyed this a lot. I'm actually going to be going with my wife and my daughters next week, so we can go see it as a family. But I really enjoyed this. Saw it on the preview night, and thought it was a really well done film. It's just a wonderful family film that had some good music, good special effects, pretty engaging story, and some wild characters. And that's a very entertaining film. Which does lead me to my number 1 film of the year, which is John Wick 4. I think I saw this movie 4 times in the theater, and I haven't seen anything else 4 times in the theater. And John Wick 4 was interesting because, 2 and 3 to me were decent films, but they were more forgettable. And I really didn't enjoy the ending to part 3. But this one, John Wick 4, brought some elements into the John Wick series that we hadn't seen in the other 3 films. It wasn't as intimate and as small as the first film was. I still enjoy the first one the most. But this one, wow, there were some pretty cool things that happened in this film. Keanu Reeves nailed the role of John Wick, and I'm excited to see what else they do with this. I still have to get my review up for The Continental, which I watched and actually never did my review on, which I have to do. But John Wick 4 is my number 1 film of 2023. I don't think there was a better film released this year. So there is my top 10. So again, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Oppenheimer, Rebel Moon, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, The Equalizer 3, The Killer, Godzilla -1, Wonka, and John Wick Chapter 4. Honorable mentions for me would be The Haunted Mansion by Disney. I really enjoyed that movie as well. That would probably come in number 11. And then I would put probably, if I had to pick a 12th, I would maybe put Super Mario in there. That was another thoroughly enjoyable film, but not something I would personally think to add to my collection and watch over and over again, but really got a lot of enjoyment out of it. All right, guys, so what do you guys think about my list? What was your favorite movie of the year? I look forward to the replies, and we will see you on the next video.